and let us all do we can to build a better future.
I want to hand over to the wonderful, incredible Farron because she's got a story for the people. What is going on?
This is remind me just so I know the order.
Oh, Dave Chappelle.
Okay. Okay. All right. So for those that don't know, I am a huge comic fan. I had a little stint in stand-up back in the day. And my first dream was to be the weekend update anchor on SNL. So I'm a huge lover of comedy. I always say this on my show. Our last line of defense of free speech is with our comedians because they're the ones that are telling it like it is. So if you guys did not see over the weekend, Dave Chappelle hosted Saturday Night Live. The week prior, you had a number of writers on the show boycott Dave Chappelle for allegedly his anti-trans jokes. Now, as a lover of Dave Chappelle from starting with the Chappelle Show all the way to now, he's made fun of transgenders. He's made fun of lesbians, gays, straight, white women, black men, white men, babies, kids. Everybody is fair game. He is an equal opportunity make fun of her,
Mm-hmm.
And so over the weekend on Saturday night, he opened with this joke. Knowing that everyone was going to be expecting him to say a statement about all of these writers that boycotted his show. And when I say boycotted, meaning like they didn't come to work that week. They didn't help. They weren't in the writer's room.
Fire them.
Help, whatever.
Fire them. Sorry. Maybe that's me being kind. If you're not going to show up to work, then guess what? You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. But so he comes out on stage and his opening line, he takes out a piece of paper. And he's like, I'm going to start with this statement. And he goes, I denounce any form of anti-Semitism and I stand with the Jewish people. And then he goes, Kanye, that's how you bide time. Because okay, so yes, and Roman Smith, funniest SNL of all season. Dave wrote all of those jokes, by the way. So he comes out and again, it's that's comedy, this powerful moment. Oh God, what is he going to say? And then boom. He talks about Kanye. He's like, Kanye went so hard on Jews that even Kyrie Irving got in trouble. He's talking about all of this anti-Semitism that's been going on with Kanye and then Kyrie Irving. And to kind of level the playing field, one thing he says is he's like, you know what? He goes, there was a news anchor that said that, Kanye has a mental illness and mental illness is no excuse for, saying anti-Semitic remarks. And Dave Chappelle was like, actually, you're wrong, bitch. He's like, but second, he goes, Kanye's very unwell. He's like, because I've been to Hollywood and there's a lot of Jews, like a lot. And he says it like it is. And he talks about how there are certain, cultures that are going to dominate certain things. And he brings it back to make it where, hey, it's not okay that they said it, but it is a reality. And so now the comedian's attempt to kind of just mellow the waters of what's going on. Oh God, no, we have everybody coming out, including the Anti-Defamation League, talking about, saying, quote, we shouldn't expect Dave Chappelle to serve as society's moral compass, but it's disturbing to see NBC, SNL, not just normalize, but popularize anti-Semitism. This is from Jonathan Greenblatt, who is the Anti-Defamation League CEO. Now, what a lot of people, again, don't know is that in comedy, these are the kinds of jokes that people are yearning to hear. People are yearning to hear these truths. And comedians, mind you, Dave Chappelle even said it. He's like, it's getting to the point where I can't say a lot of things anymore. And he goes, so hello to whoever hates me next, basically. But it's getting to that point where every time we see this kind of thing happen, people start to question, okay, if you're going to talk about, anti-Semitism and there's a 34% rise in anti-Semitic incidents and all that other stuff, so he's calling it more attention to it by saying, hi, yeah, this is a problem. Kanye clearly is talking about this because it's kind of true, but yes, there also is a problem and we need to be aware of it. So what's the wrong in that?
So first, I did not watch SNL because I mean, again, I didn't. First of all, that opening monologue right there. I mean, he said that. That's incredible because the only skit I seen is him talking about the potato hole.
Oh, that was my favorite one.
Yeah, right. And I was like, wow, maybe I should have watched it. Maybe I should have. I didn't. And for that, you know what? Thankfully, there are people who upload on YouTube, so NBC won't get my number for its viewing ratings. But here's the thing about comedy, folks. And Farron, you said it perfectly. The art of comedy is to put everything in, is to hold everything to account and ridicule it, poke a hole into it. It is supposed to be ridiculed. Anything that people have made, a successful comedian, a good comedian, will be critical of it, make fun of it. And that means everything's on the table, from the U.S. Constitution to the Holy Bible to Black people, white people, Latino people, LGBTQIA community. I mean, that's what jokes do. And Dave Chappelle has successfully told a lot of jokes. A lot of comedians have crossed that line to where they're deemed, oh, so offensive. But the thing is, they're good at their art. But the fact you have so many people who are thin-skinned and easily triggered saying, oh, well, Bill Burr is this, Dave Chappelle is this, Jimmy Dore is this, Joe Rogan is this. No. You're missing the point of the art that you are witnessing, and that is comedy. That means it's causing people to laugh, to maybe not take themselves so seriously. Look, we're here for a very short time on this planet. You might as well enjoy it, because when you're gone, that's it. You are done. The dead envy the living. And as far as I'm concerned, Chappelle is correct. Now you got to be careful what you can and cannot say. You're tipping on eggshells. You got to make sure you got to be careful what you can and cannot say. What kind of world is that? Now, Chappelle being on SNL, I'm looking at his entire this entire article here on my own right here, and he has said nothing from my perspective, from my point of view, that would be anti-Semitic. He's a comedian. And if you're going to take it that way, if you're going to twist it that way, then clearly, you're just easily sensitive and you live in a glass house. And all these holier than thou woke SJWs who want to constantly censor this, silence this, cancel that, they're not as noble as they say they are. They got their own problems.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll give you another perfect example. Bill Burr. You brought up my second favorite, Bill Burr.
I love his work. I love his work.
George Carlin's my number one. Then it's Dave, and then Bill. Bill Burr is like my spirit animal, that inner angry Irishman for no reason. Just rah. I love that. One of the jokes that Bill Burr had in his latest special at Red Rocks, he's like, you want to talk about all these people, and this that actually relates to anti-Semitism. Okay, he goes, you want to talk about all these people where, they're all, oh, Coco Chanel, and oh my God, Coco Chanel, and she's so amazing. She's so amazing. And he goes, I do a little Wikipedia search. He goes, and find out she was banging Nazis during World War II. Because, she was in France and they were getting taken over by the Nazis. And to kind of make sure that she didn't get taken over by the Nazis, yeah. He's like, where's the outcry with that? Where's the ban Coco Chanel? He's like, folks, it's right there in Wikipedia, and it's one of these things where it's like, it is this selective hatred. But he said, he's like, but God forbid, she's a woman. That's why it can't happen. And it's one of these things like where it's such a pick and choosy culture when it comes to comedy. And a lot of it is like, Ricky Gervais, another comedian. It's my new favorite quote of the year. Amazing quote that it sums up the last 3 years. Just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. Okay, I'll say it again. Just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. Okay, just because you're offended that Dave Chappelle said that there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood doesn't mean that, oh my God, he's right. There is, and he even says it. What's there? He said, he's like, hey, I'm sorry. He's like, just because there's a lot of Black people in Ferguson doesn't mean they're running the show. It's just one of these things that, and that's the whole comedy of it. People just gotta, I'm sorry, I hate to say it this way, take the sticks out of your ass and just have a laugh, have some fun. Inflation's high, all this other stuff, just have a laugh.
I actually had a joke with one of my friends. I was speaking to him when I was in Japan. This was in 2020. And for those of you who don't know, the Minato district, I think I said it right. The Minato district in Japan. That's like the international district, right? And I just kind of made a joke to him. I said, "Hey, there's a lot of white people in this district." Like, it's like, yeah, there are a lot of white people here. It's the international district, but there you go. There's a lot of white people there, but there is a lot of white people in the Minato district. That's the same district that has a restaurant that inspired Kill Bill. Yeah. Great food. Just getting a little slight.
You go to Chicago. There's Ukrainian Village. You're gonna walk around. Wow, everybody here seems to be speaking Ukrainian. That's why it's called the Ukrainian Village. Like, are we supposed to be mad about that? You know, it's just this is what happens, folks. You know, it's this is how it is. It's just who cares? Look at it and laugh. It's humanity. We're not perfect.
Dave Chappelle did nothing wrong, and you know what? He owes no one an apology. He's a successful comedian, and SJWs, people who want to cancel him, guess what? They're not creative. Whenever I hear all these quote unquote woke individuals who carry these signs and say they care about the issues, they only do it to bring attention to themselves. And I said this on the show, and I'm glad you're here with me too, because the thing is, we saw a lot of these SJWs rise up and gain their clout when Trump became president, right? But a lot of these quote unquote SJW woke individuals who call for canceling or censorship of anyone or anything that triggers them, you know, without Trump, none of them would have a job or be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. They would not be relevant. A lot of these people who care about the issues, do you see them out there in the field? Do you see them out there in communities helping out, dealing with the contaminated water or anything else? No, they have how they're focusing their time is to go after comedians, go after TV shows, go after books, and say, I don't like this person. I don't like that show. I don't like this, so censor it. They have no relevance or any real power. Sooner or later, like, again, the train that these SJWs create is going to crash and derail, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Well, and, you know, I always, when I was a news anchor in Grand Rapids, I had a combo with comics. I had a morning little segment, and it was a podcast, and I would talk to these comedians and ask them, you know, who were their biggest inspirations and stuff like that. And last night I love watching podcasts with comedians because they really see the world in a, you know, they see all of the sadness. That's their job. And then to make fun of it, you know, and that's why a lot of comedians are very broken people. But one of the things, I was watching a podcast, just so happens last night, of Dave Chappelle, and they were asking him, how are you with social media? Are you constantly on social media? And he goes, oh, hell no, bitch. He's like, no. You know, he does that, no, hell no, bitch, you know. And he says, he's like, I'm on Twitter. He's like, but I never check it. And they were like, well, why don't you check it? And he's like, because if I'm too inundated with social media, I'm going to start getting swayed by people. He goes, I have my wife run my Twitter. He goes, and there's been only like 2 times where she's like, Dave, you might want to take a look at this. You know, she's like, but he's like, but other than that, I don't want any kind of sway. I don't want to hear, you know, what these people say, he's like, I just want to look at it from my lens. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, could you imagine if most people did that? Could you imagine where the voter would be? Could you imagine how we would all think and feel, you know? And granted, social media has brought many of us together. It gets us here, for example, where we can talk about this stuff over like cable news network. But there are some times where I think maybe deplugging and just looking at the world for what it is, and watching a good stand-up every once in a while. You know, these comedians know what's going on. And that's why I say they're our last line of defense against free speech. So when they try to cancel comedians, rise up, folks. Do not let it happen.
Yes, comedy is an art form. And look, if you don't like a comedian, don't watch their show. If there's a TV show that triggers you, guess what? You have an option to watch something else. You have Netflix or Amazon or just regular television. If you don't like it, just don't watch it. If you're easily triggered, go ahead and bury a hole 6 feet in the ground, cover yourself up, because obviously you lack the mental maturity to deal with the world. And I'm glad that Dave Chappelle hosted SNL. It was the funniest. I'm willing to bet that it's probably was the funniest that it's ever been in a long time. Sorry for that stutter, but I'm pretty sure it was the funniest it's ever been in a very long time, because the whole idea of comedy is to also make you uncomfortable. And the fact that you have people so easily triggered by that tells me that they lack any kind of life whatsoever. So get over yourself, quit crying and wasting our time with this cancel culture BS, because it just, I don't care anymore. Okay.
And if you watch the SNL Dave Chappelle potato hole, if you are going to go dig yourself into a hole, make sure it's not your potato hole.
God. Oh, that was a great
There you
skit.
I
Holy,
know.
I you know what? I mean, I
The
could,
stand-up comes out sometimes, you know?
I could see some robotic news anchors laughing about that. The weatherman, the
I
traffic,
was so triggered. So triggered. Folks, if you haven't seen the skit, TLDR, it's Dave Chappelle is a blues singer, and it's his new album, The Potato Hole. What's a potato hole? What's a potato hole? And the
Can
whole
I
thing is,
tickle my wife's potato hole? Oh,
yeah. Oh, look at here. It's a weather pattern like a potato hole. And then he finally tells him at the very end what the potato hole is, and it's not a good thing.
It's like, oh, that would have been nice to know in advance.
What have I good to know earlier? And you can see these anchors are like, and they're the morning anchors where they got to be all chipper. Yeah, I've been one of those before. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead and give it a watch. It's hilarious.